towards them. Verily Allah loves those who are just. So the Shaykh says this is concerning the non-Muslim who does good to a Muslim, and so the Muslim recompenses him and compensates him for his goodness. And the Shaykh says rather this is something that's emphasized. This issue here is specifically something that's emphasized, that he compensates a non-Muslim for the goodness that's done to him in order to cut off the favor, that now is that the non-Muslim has upon the Muslim, and so that the Muslim doesn't feel that he's subservient to the non-Muslim in that manner, in the sense that he owes him a favor or something. And the Shaykh says all of this is because, and all of this enters into the angle of da'wah to Allah. Because when a non-Muslim sees that the Muslim have these noble, good characteristics and these excellent characteristics, then this is like an angle or a way of them entering into Islam. This is a way of them entering into Islam. And then in the hadith it continues, فَإِن لَمْ تَجِدُوا, that if you do not find that with which you can compensate him, فَادْعُوا لَهُ, then supplicate for him. Meaning keep supplicating for him for goodness and ease and success. And then the hadith continues, up until you see, حَتَّى تَرَوْا, up until you believe, or until you see that you have compensated him fully. So meaning up until you believe, or until you see that you know, up until you know or that you believe that you have compensated him fully. So this shows that to compensate someone for the goodness they've done to you can be done either in one's action, or it can be done by one's speech, when he's not able to give back the likes of what that person gave to him in his action or in his wealth or whatever. Then he can do it in his speech by making supplication for that person for his goodness and for ease for him and for success for him. So this hadith then, it contains a number of important issues that the Shaykh now summarizes at the end of this chapter, and from them are, the Shaykh says, the first of them is number one, the very reason for which Shaykhul Islam Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab entitled the chapter that the one who asks by Allah is not to be refused. Man sa'alakum billah fa'atuh, as occurs in the hadith, whoever asks by Allah then give to him. Then this is the first great benefit, because within this is a glorification and veneration of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is asked by. And in refusing to give to this person, that this is really, it's kind of diminishing and belittling the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's a deficiency in Tawheed. But in giving is a respect and veneration of the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and a completion of one's Tawheed. Right? So when someone asks you by Allah, then it's obligatory to give when you have more than enough for yourself, or that when you have the ability to help that person. Second issue is that it's obligatory to grant refuge and asylum to the person who seeks refuge, by way of Allah's name. He asks for refuge by way of Allah's name, and so it's obligatory to help to give him refuge and not to harm him in any way with anything which is and to not grant this to him would be unlawful, and to harm him in this manner, it would be to not to basically harm him in this manner by not giving him the asylum or the refuge. And the Shaykh says that to do this, meaning to not to grant him this, would be a kind of transgression against the one who sought refuge and who sought protection by way of Allah. And to do this would be a deficiency again in one's Tawheed, and in aiding this person and granting him refuge would be a perfection of Tawheed. Third issue is the obligation to respond to the invitation of one's Muslim brother, and this is because this contains bringing the hearts together and establishing love between them, and removing the kind of separation and dispersion that might exist between the the brotherhood. And as for when a person doesn't respond, then this will lead to the opposite of that. It will lead to dispersion, separation, mutual enmity and dislike, and cutting off of ties between the people, and all of this is not permissible. Fourth issue is in the hadith. There is evidence of the obligation to compensate whoever does goodness with the likes of that goodness if one is able. And if one isn't able, then he can compensate for it by way of supplication to that person. Keep supplicating for that person up until he believes that he is now amply, or up until he knows that he's amply compensated him for the goodness that was done to him. And the fifth issue is the prohibition of not compensating a person who did goodness, because this is one of the attributes or characteristics which are blameworthy. It's not befitting a Muslim that he receives favors and receives support and aid and help from other people, and at the same time he doesn't compensate. Right? So this is not befitting for a Muslim. And that's the end of that chapter.